Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself first. My name is Hermalia Ismi Fadhilah from A3 2019 English Education Study Program of IKIP Siliwangi. On this occasion, I would like to share about morphology and syntax. First, I will explain briefly about what is morphology. So what is morphology? Morphology is the study of morphemes, the smallest units of the language that carry meaning. Morphemes is divided into two types, namely free morphemes and bound morphemes. Free morphemes are morphemes that can stand alone into words without being attached to other morphemes. Free morphemes are divided into two, namely lexical morphemes and functional morphemes. Lexical morphemes are morphemes that can stand alone and can convey the content of the message we convey. Divided into three, namely verbs, nouns, and adjectives. Functional morphemes are morphemes that can stand alone, but the content to be conveyed is not clear. Divided into four, namely conjunctions, prepositions, articles, and pronouns. Next, bound morphemes. Bound morphemes are morphemes that cannot stand alone but must be attached to other morphemes. Bound morphemes are divided into two, namely derivational morphemes and inflectional morphemes. Derivational morphemes are morphemes which, if attached to other morphemes, will form a new morphemes or a new word, or to form words with different grammatical from the previous words. While inflectional morphemes are morphemes that are tied or attached to other morphemes, which are only to identify the grammar, not to produce the new words. Okay, so that's a brief explanation about morphology. Now let's try to analyze the morphemes in a story. As you can see, I have underlined all the words in this story in various colors. Words with red underlines are words that are included in functional morphemes. Why? Because they are words that can stand alone but cannot explain the content to be conveyed. For example, the word at, it can stand alone but cannot explain the content we want to convey, as well as other words that underline with red, such as of, the, to, who, and etc. There are a lot of words in the slide, yes. Then, the words with the yellow underline are the words that are included in the lexical morphemes, because these words can stand alone and can also convey the content that we want to convey. For example, the words great, the word meat, the word animal, the word head, and so on. Well, as I said before, lexical morphemes and functional morphemes are included in free morphemes because they can stand alone. Now we go to bound morphemes. Bound morphemes are morphemes that cannot stand alone, like the words underlined with purple and blue colors. For example, ing and s cannot stand alone without being attached to other morphemes. Bound morphemes that are underlined in purple are included in derivational morphemes because if these words are attached with other morphemes, they will form a new word. For example, the word ing. If it's attached with meat, it will form a new word or a new meaning. Unlike bound morphemes, which are underlined in blue, they are included in inflectional morphemes because when attached with other morphemes, it will not form a new word. For example, When animal as free morphemes are attached with as bound morphemes, they will not form a new word, and only to identify grammar. Okay, you can identify the other words that I have underlined. Now next to syntax. In general, what is syntax? Syntax means a set of grammar rules for words or clauses in forming sentences. Usually in written and spoken sentences, we see syntax elements in words or clauses that we usually refer to as subject, verb, and object. Subject, verb, and object in the syntax rules are always sequential. At the same time, in some cases, the syntax rules allow other words or clauses such as adverbs or complement to be added. From that, we can know that there are 5 terms in sentences formation or syntax, namely subject, verb, object, complement, and adverbial. Now let's try to analyze syntax on the same story. The method is the same as morphology. I have underlined words with different colors. In this case, words with red underline are adverbials. Words with yellow underline are complement. Green underlined are subject. Blue is verb and purple is object. Okay, let's see in first sentences. At the great meeting of the animals is underlined red because it is as adverbial. Who had gathered is complement. To elect is verb, a new ruler as object. The monkey as subject was asked as verb. To dance as complement. Also in the second sentences, third sentences, fourth sentence, and fifth sentence, the word that underlined with red as adverb, the word underlined with yellow as complement, blue as object, purple as blue as verb, purple as subject, and green as subject. Nah, as I told you before, subject, verb, and object in the syntax rules are always sequential. For example, in the first sentences in this slide, we can see the green, blue, and purple underline are sequential. The monkey is the greedy monkey as subject. The greedy monkey as subject, followed as verb. The fox as object. They are sequential. Likewise with other sentences, if you pay attention, you can see that green as sign of subject, blue as sign of verb, and purple as sign of object are always sequential. Then, what about the third sentence, which only has 2 elements? Well, actually, in the syntax rules, a correct sentence only requires a subject and a verb. Okay? A correct sentence only requires a subject and a verb. If a sentence has a subject and a verb, as in the sentence 3, the fox stood off and laughed. The fox as subject, stood off and laughed as verbs. Then you can be sure that the sentence is grammatically correct. Okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all I can explain about morphology and syntax. The conclusion is morphology our study about morphology is study about morphemes, or the smallest units of the language, and then syntax is study about sentences. Thank you for your attention. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.